students were just learning of the arrest today. They say they're shocked after hearing what allegedly happened on their campus. Hundreds have already gathered for that vigil, which is just about to start. Now take a look behind me. They're right now at the quad. Rambula took his oath in front of the entire state assembly this morning, surrounded by his wife and 3 children. He says he cannot wait to get to work. She began attacking him, not just here in the parking lot, but it also continued inside the store. Those signs are temporary, though, pending the lawsuit against Delaware North. Many visitors here saying they just want everything to stay the same. Board members say their expenses have exceeded revenue for almost 3 years. Now they're in debt and asking for help. The shooting happened just about 5 hours ago, but I want you to take a look at the scene. It's still very active. They're looking at the pilot's history, they're looking at the aircraft itself, and they're looking at the weather conditions that were here last night. You should have gotten a dispute form in the mail along with your appraisal. Fill it out and take it down to the Victoria Central Appraisal District to drop off. Heavy smoke has kept crews grounded for most of the morning, but now that the smoke is finally starting to clear, 2 helicopters have come in and they're pulling water from the Kings River. So when reading these poems, he just wants everyone else to see the world in the same light he does. The average number of homes sold in 2013 increased by more than 200 from 2012. So essentially this ordinance is saying game rooms like this will probably have to move outside city limits. All you have to do is push the button, locate child, and within seconds you can find out exactly where your child is. And Taft Point, the place where these 2 jumpers made their base jump, is just beyond those mountains behind me, lining the streets earlier today carrying signs and yelling out against the $68 billion project. It started about an hour ago, but the ceremony just wrapped up. However, students are still sticking around. They're signing cards, they're giving support. Tonight we're learning these charges stem from a July 21st incident involving a 10-year-old girl. Then the city would go back to the drawing board. If not, then it would go up before council for approval. That's what's happening tonight. As you can see behind me, windows have already been boarded up. Now, the fire started right there in apartment G. The allegations in this police report are coming from Jocelyn's ex-girlfriends that are making it easier for them to happen. Our culture, technology, and especially social media. Skiing may not be much of an option with last weekend's storm, leaving the resort in a pretty damp situation. 54,000 spring run Chinook salmon are now calling the San Joaquin River home, but it's only for a week. Hoping it'll bring at least a foot, a good sign that this season won't be like the last. Stephanie, is going to be very packed. All of the seats have been sold out already. That's 12,500 seats, so it's going to be standing room only tickets from now on. He put a lock on it, but when he came back, it was gone. But now the very same people he reported it to helped him get a new one. So much support out here today. Organizers say they originally planned for about 40 officers to come out and shave their heads, so she grabbed several buckets. This one is her mop bucket, just hoping to save a few gallons. In the end, she says she saved over 60 gallons of water. Shaky cell phone video shows the chaos that unfolded.
This never happens at UC Merced, and it's really shocking.
Helicopters airlifting victims, SWAT teams securing campus.
From what we heard, he was running from COB after he stabbed somebody. And then they shot him, so he was laying in the middle of the bridge last time that I saw him.
It all started here, UC Merced COB, or classroom and office building. The suspect, a male student in his 20s.
I saw there was multiple stab victims.
Took a knife to 4 innocent people.
It's pretty rattling. I'm still trying to figure out what this means.
Aerial video shows police tape sectioning off a portion of campus.
The campus police officer that had taken action prevented a lot more injuries from occurring by taking swift action against the suspect.
Sheriff Vern Warnke says the officer who shot the suspect is a former sheriff's deputy. The campus has remained on lockdown all morning as students were kept inside classrooms and dorms. Slowly, they've been able to leave, some catching the first bus out.
Energy wasn't right on campus. It didn't seem right to just sit there.
Others having their parents pick them up.
So they're actually here, and they said we'll be there as soon as we can, so yeah.
Students say it's a tragedy they hope the school can bounce back from.
I hope we can just go back to that feeling of safety, that this tragedy won't be what defines this place.
Rock climber, highliner, base jumper, Dean Potter was known for doing it all and doing it well.
He was just like on the cutting edge of climbing for a long time.
The stuff he did around here is amazing. I mean, soloing huge walls and base jumping off stuff, running away from park rangers.
Local climbers say the news of Potter's death came as a shock to their entire community.
We were just hanging out and it was like, oh my God, Dean Potter died.
Potter and his climbing partner Graham Hunt made a base jump Saturday night, attempting a wingsuit flight off Taft Point, a 7,500-foot mountain overlooking Yosemite Valley. But the two were never heard from again.
We saw the rescue helicopters going back and forth just up and down the canyon, and we knew there was something up.
Search and rescue crews found the two bodies about 50 yards apart Sunday. The tragic news spread quickly throughout the park. Climbing fans say it's a big loss to their community.
He's like one of those people you never expect to die doing what he does. You know, he's like so good at it and so prolific that you're just, yeah, it's a huge shock.
Base jumping is illegal here in Yosemite. At least 5 people have died in base jumping accidents in national parks since January of last year. It's summertime in the mountains. Mild temperatures mixed with incredible scenery bring thousands to the Sierra Nevadas each week. Tourists looking for something to take their breath away.
These parks get 1 to 2 million visitors a year who come here just to see giant sequoia trees.
They're the largest trees in the world.
They're very tall and very beautiful.
It sort of puts your life in perspective to stand beside one and realize how small you are.
And they're strong, living thousands of years, withstanding whatever Mother Nature throws at them, including wildfire and even drought.
When you see a tree that's been alive for 3,000 years, you know it's gone through a lot.
But this year's drought might be different. The giant sequoias usually get several feet of snow. This year, they only got inches.
Without that snowpack built up, there's a drier soil here now, and that's putting stress on them.
That stress is causing the trees to experience a foliage dieback.
Letting some of their older leaves die and fall to the ground, but in an amount that's not typical.
This is the first time this has happened in recorded history, and it's putting biologists on edge about what's going to happen next.
Are they going to be stressed even more? And is it even possible we might see some die? We don't know. This is uncharted territory for us.
They aren't dying yet, but others are. About 25% of trees have now turned brown. Usually it's less than 2%.
Almost all the species except giant sequoia, so it's pines, firs, cedars, oaks.
Now a once entirely green mountainside is much less vibrant than before. Hikers say it's noticeable, but hope the giant sequoias don't fall victim as well.
That would be certainly a sad thing for us and future generations, so hopefully they'll get some water.
This ponding basin behind me is actually creating a bit of a headache for some of the people who live nearby. The ducks that live inside the gates are now coming outside and creating quite a mess. They waddle out to stake their territory every day.
Well, literally hundreds. I can say I've seen hundreds.
You've heard of a gaggle of geese. You might call this a deluge of ducks. Looking both ways, they cross the street, claiming squatters' rights in this neighborhood in search of food, water, or just a cool place to relax.
Spend the day down there and then they'd come back through here.
Hundreds of ducks now calling this Hanford Ponding Basin home, but at the break of dawn, they come out quacking.
They just walk by. They don't bother me or anything.
But some neighbors say they need to go. Steve Rocha says he doesn't mind them, but doesn't want them to rule the roost.
They're in the yards, they lay eggs, they have babies, you know. They get ran over a lot.
Neighbors say they eat the grass and root up plants. They also make a mess.
When they mess on the sidewalk, and then you got to clean it up, you know.
City manager Daryl Pyle says the ducks are just being ducks and they're hungry.
Homeowners are feeding ducks in particular, and duck droppings all over the sidewalk.
Pyle says they've told homeowners to cut the ducks off, but some didn't listen. This video was given to us by one neighbor who says she used to feed the ducks but doesn't anymore.
Don't feed the ducks. The ducks are brilliant at finding their own food source.
Pyle says they've tried to hatch ideas to get rid of these pesky critters, including relocation.
What we've been told is you literally have to move them more than 600 miles east or west to prevent them from flying right back to that food source they've grown comfortable with.
While many are ready to kick them to the curb, others say they're fun to watch and would hate to see them go.
I like to see them come by. They don't bother me.
Pyle says really the only way these ducks will stay inside these gates is if people stop feeding them.